Right, back live tonight, you're in Focus. Let's continue then with that story. Gauteng's Hostel Redevelopment Programme Chief Director joins us now to respond to some of those grievances raised by the hostel dwellers. Chief, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mdluli. We appreciate being here.
Let's start here. I mean, have you abandoned the program? Are you passing the buck? Or are you poorly implementing the program? Which one of the three?
We are definitely not passing the buck. We are not abandoning the program. As recently as 2020, the Gauteng provincial government approved the Gauteng Hostels Redevelopment Strategy, which sought to deal with the issues of previous programs and interventions that were made in hostels. Hence, you see all these houses standing empty and so on. They were as a result of the poor implementation of previous programs like the community residential units, where there was conflict about rentals and so on. Then there was a new strategy, which is something that we are implementing as we go forward. So we are not abandoning the program.
What's the confusion? Why are you not clearing that with the residents? Because every time they are raising issues, they go to March, it's either province says, no, it's not our responsibility, we're only taking care of 6. The rest of you, it's the city that must take care of it.
That you've said, it's true. There are about 65 hostels in Gauteng, and the provincial department owns only 6, and the rest are owned by municipalities where they are located. And the municipalities have a responsibility to provide basic services like they should do in terms of the bylaws, but also because these are their properties, they must maintain these properties. Right. But because of whatever reasons, be it budget or whatever it is, that has not been happening. And the state of Diepkloof is an example of what is happening in basically all the 65 hostels. All of them are as bad as Diepkloof. And it's something that after the adoption of the strategy, because we then said, let's understand how big the problem is. We did assessments on bulk infrastructure, electricity, and everything that needs to support the housing development that we would want to do going forward as a government working together with the metros and the municipalities. It comes to figures that are staggering. For an example, if we were to do bulk infrastructure upgrading for all 65 hostels, we require more than 20 billion rand. Early last year, the MEC met with Izinduna from all hostels in Gauteng. We explained exactly what you are saying, that why are we not explaining to the residents? We did, he did, and unpack the plan that is actually there, and emphasize the need of a collaborative effort between the municipalities and the department. But then the leaders said, we hear you, MEC. We may not belong to you, we belong to the city, that's fine. But all those municipalities are not doing anything. It wasn't only for COJ. City of Eguland said so, Merafong, all the municipalities, the leaders from those hostels. They said, the situation is bad, assist us. There was then an agreement to say, we can intervene, subject to 2 issues. One, there will have to be a memorandum of agreement between the municipalities because these are not our properties. And the Auditor General had flagged the department that it had spent monies on properties that it does not own, and that's irregular expenditure, and we didn't want to go that route. So MOUs were prepared and were sent to the municipalities. And then it was a question of saying, let us identify 3 issues that are life-threatening in all these hostels. Assess them, quantify, and let's see how we can start and prioritize and do that work. That work has been completed. That assessment has been completed. We need about 3.5 billion rand to do these emergency repairs. Where
is that 3.5 billion rand going to be spent?
Where is it going to be spent?
All 65 or just
this assessment is for all the hostels. Okay. Yes. These issues range from fixing sewer pipe, bulk-related infrastructure, electricity reticulation inside, windows broken, roofs blowing away. You would have seen in Diepkloof that even foundations do not exist. So these are major structural defects in these buildings and old sewer infrastructure that need to be repaired. We then saying that we will be able to do that while prioritizing hostels where we can demolish and build new houses, because you can't do that overnight.
Yeah.
And before you have a house, Mr. Mluli, there's a lot that needs to happen.
Yeah.
You need to have a land.
Yes.
You need to service that land.
Yes.
That takes a long time.
Yeah.
There should be money to actually do those things. Municipalities are the custodians of SPLUMA, the act that empowers them to approve anything that has to do with the development. We need to work with them to ensure that these things actually happen.
But is there an acknowledgement right there between yourselves and municipalities that municipalities can't do this? They don't have the budget to do it. Let's start there.
I would beg to differ a little bit,
yeah.
Especially when it comes to metros. There is a grant that is used in human settlement, HSDG. A couple of years ago, a portion of that grant was set aside, and the Urban Settlement Development Grant, the USDG, was made available.
Yeah.
That grant is given to metros. It can be 1 billion per metro, depending on the size of the metro. The purpose of that grant is that the metros must ensure that there's availability of infrastructure for human settlement development.
Yeah. But not just hostels. Infrastructure for human settlement.
Development. Informal settlements and so on and things like that.
Yes.
But then the question would be, we really probably from the media must say, let's check the extent to which this USDG is spent by these various metros. I can tell you'll find that some of that money goes back to Treasury.
Yes.
So, at IGR level, both technical, under the leadership of HODs and heads of human settlements from municipalities, and politically, there is engagement of such. There are municipalities that say, despite the fact that we get this grant, we are still in dire straits. Please assist.
I want to say that that's obfuscation, because why would province establish a hostels redevelopment program and put you as a chief director if they are convinced that municipalities can do this by themselves?
It's not a question of being convinced, but people must account for monies that are released to them.
But the fact that you established this unit, it means that you as the Gauteng department acknowledge that municipalities are unable, in fact, they don't have capacity to be able to deal with the situation.
Hence, this establishment of this unit and the collaborative effort that must happen going forward. It would be a bit wrong. We know that the human settlement function is a dual competency, national and province. But metros can be accredited to deliver human settlement. City of Joburg already has human settlement projects that it is actually implementing. Now, what we should be insisting is that the finger pointing must stop. Let us work together, because with all these monies that are needed, there will have to be a tapping that must happen on the monies that the municipalities must have, while the province release some, so that there is a kitty that jointly we can work on going forward. So the establishment of the unit for Hostels Redevelopment Programme is to exactly do that, pull all efforts. But we can't, as a province, shoulder this work all alone. Remember, we don't want to emphasize it, but it's a fact that these hostels belong to the municipalities, and they must take a step.
So what has been a problem? Talk to me, what has been a problem? Why have you not been speaking to the Joburg Metro, for example, to resolve the Diepkloof Hostel issue?
We have been collaborating with the city of Joburg. Part of the problem, especially with Diepkloof and other hostels where there would have been units that are unoccupied and so on and things like that, is that when that construction happened in 2018, 10 and so on, there were no proper approvals that were granted. It's the city that was supposed to approve that. Yeah. There is acknowledgement on the part of the city that there was that error, there was pressure to build houses and to pull in houses and so on.
In fact,
and then
Mr. Moilo says there was poor social facilitation. That was happening. You ended up having houses, for example, that were designed in a way that was expensive.
It's true.
And then
Very
you went
true.
to the people and said, you have to pay rent, and the people said, no.
Yes.
We can't.
That's the community residential units program that failed, that resulted to these so-called white elephants that are there. Yeah. And a decision has been taken to say these houses need to be sorted out, repainted, and so on, and things like that, and then allocated to people that are beneficiaries within the hostels. But then you are in a predicament where you have 20 houses and there are 400 people that must be benefited.
Yeah.
So as you do that, you must come up with a plan that says you will demolish and build new houses.
Gauteng's Hostel Redevelopment Programme Chief Director, Sthenjwa Ngcobo, still with us, and is responding, of course, to the grievances raised by the hostel dwellers. So I want us to get back to that. What are the factors that are contributing to the challenges, right? Because you're saying municipalities and province need to work together. Municipalities, I mean, the Auditor General has said there's poor capacity to plan for projects, and therefore the projects end up not being implemented, hence monies end up being returned to Treasury and so on and so forth. So we know that it is an ongoing problem. But also the Auditor General says, but it's also the function of province to come in and support municipalities where they see that there is such failure.
Yeah.
So where's the disconnect? Why are you not able to come in and assist?
Lule, I would want to indicate that the province is doing all its effort to work with the metros. There are various structures that are in place to do that, IGRs and so on. But it would be important to indicate that while at a political level there will be that leadership to say, let there be working together and instruction and so on. At a technical level, that is at the level where, as a technocrat I am at, there seem to be a stiffness in the movement. And I wouldn't want to say that it is deliberate. Probably there are legal implications that must be taken care of, issues that would have been raised by accounting authorities like AG to be careful. So everybody is being careful so that mistakes are not done. But that is at the expense of service delivery that actually needs to happen. It would be important to acknowledge in this platform that at a political level, at least from our department, there has been clear marching orders to say, work with the municipalities. But on the other hand, the municipalities need to communicate and say, we are not able to actually proceed with this. An example will be Itswane, for an example. MMC for Tswane wrote to MEC and said, we need assistance. There is this amount of money that we need to deal with the hostels in Tswane. And the MEC said, I acknowledge we must find the money to deal with that. So there is that instruction that has cascaded down at the technical level, that there has been this request that has been made, but we can't commit to it until we find budget wherever we need to find it. So I believe that there is a political will to deal with the hostels, and there is commitment. It's just that probably the issue of resources and the mammoth task that needs to be done to deal with the hostel, it's quite huge. As we are talking billions and so on, and the fiscus understanding that there are these constraints that we're actually having, it will really need a stomach tightening or I don't know what term I would use, but this money must be available to deal with this.
Because on Thursday you're going to go there, and the Diepkloof people are on edge, as you can hear. They're saying, look, if Thursday you come there and there's no concrete presentation that you're making, that they're taking back to the streets, and they're not going to be nice about it, so to speak, because the residents are quite angry in living in those conditions. You have a premier that says in the budget there is money being allocated for the refurbishment of hostels. You are presenting a whole context of challenges in accessing those funds and putting that money in and getting that money to work for the people. And it seems to me what you're saying is you have people, for example, at local government who are saying, we can't have province come and tell us what to do. We are local government. We want to run our own things. It's our own space here. We want to divide the money the way that we want to divide it, even though province is saying we want to come and help. How do you explain that to the people who are saying we want to see that money that was promised by the Premier come to us and actually work for us?
The good thing about your question, Lulu, is that it is politically nuanced, and it frees me from answering it. but the answer to that... I suppose you are coming to answer for the political head as a technocrat. But the answer to that is that the MEC committed to say that when I come back on Thursday, so that we stop this thing of finger pointing, The mayor will have to come. The MMC for human settlement from the city will have to be there. In front of you, we will then present the concrete plans that we would have put together. Tomorrow, we will make effort at a technocratic level to meet with the city, the unit that deals with human settlement and ourselves, in preparation for that meeting, because we need to technically prepare and then report to the political leadership in terms of what is it that's feasible, what are the challenges, and so on, so that when they meet with the people on Thursday, they are then able to articulate a plan that will have to unfold going forward, with both spheres of government actually contributing. Yeah. We know that the city has done something in terms of electricity, water, and so on, and people will say, but we have been living without electricity for a long. Fine, we have it now. It's not enough. We want more. And as government, we actually need to do that. The Thursday meeting will then have to unpack that, to say, these are the plans going forward, this is what is going to happen.
At a technical level, in simple terms, what would be the time frames? I mean, what would it take for a hostel like the Diepkloof Hostel to be redeveloped?
I will use an example of Diepkloof for an example. While answering Kagiso, while responding on Diepkloof. The first issue that is technically important, as far as this issue is concerned, will be the signing of an agreement between the two spheres of government. With the city agreeing that this is our property, we agree that you can then have a long-term plan for redevelopment. Without that agreement, nothing will move. We won't be able to move because we can't spend money if there is no agreement. We'll be setting a trap for us from the AG and a whole lot of things that may emerge after that. So that's the first start. If there is that commitment that indeed, please come on board, everybody signs and we move forward, we then technically finalize the development planning that will involve how many units, the size of the land, and then there are proper approvals that actually need to happen. That is the process that has happened in Kagiso, right, where everything has been approved, right, and we are ready to demolish and build. Yeah, yeah. And it's not far-fetched. It's not something that is probably a pipe dream. It takes a bit longer because it may take anything between 3 to 4 years to plan a development of that size.
I see.
So I cannot right now wave a magic wand. Yeah. It's not a short-term issue, yeah, if we are talking about the redevelopment. But service delivery like electricity, water, and so on, those things must be there from tomorrow, and the city must provide those.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming. Gauteng Hostel Redevelopment Programme Chief Director, Sthenjwa Ngcobo, they're joining us in studio.